Hey everybody, it's Ed. In today's video, we're going to take a look at using a PDF planner. So now this is going to be a way for you to use a planner that's hyperlinked, has a lot of functionality, and you can really use it in any digital device. So a lot of these are made so that they'll fit whether you use a Remarkable, a Kindle Scribe, a Supernote like I use, or any of the books platforms. You can use these same tools to be able to organize your day. Everything from task lists to weekly, monthly, quarterly, daily calendar, and even some motivational, some diary and note type functions. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead, we'll get started, we'll dive in. For this video, I'm using My Daily Organizer, which is provided by My Deep Guide, and all these links will be in the description, but it's a low cost way to kind of get yourself organized on a weekly, quarterly, monthly, daily basis. The second one that I'll be showing a little bit of is provided by morningcoach.com. So Morning Coach provides this as a free planner. It does incorporate his system and the way that he thinks about organization. So it is one of those things that you'll want to, kind of pick what suits you. But both of these are PDF planners that are hyperlinked and pretty accessible in any platform. Before we get started, thank you again for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. It'll help me out a ton, and it'll let me know that you're interested in the work I'm doing and all of the different videos that we're making. So if you want to do that, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get started. So here we go, getting into the PDF planners. So as you can see, I've got two folders set up here in my Supernote, and we're going to look at each one of these kind of in turn to let you see what the interface looks like and whether or not it would work for you. Again, there are all kinds of planners out there. I just choose MDO because it is a very well developed planner, and also because the intricacy of it is really phenomenal. So all of the attention to detail that Voya puts into this is really impressive. And I chose Morning Coach because JB as well put a lot of work into that planner, and it is offered free of charge. So you can download that planner. MDO does come at a cost, but again, it's the intricate nature of it that makes it so useful. So let's go ahead and open these up, and I will show you first MDO. Now, just be aware that when you do go to open these up, they do take a minute to load because they are large files. And this is the new 2024 planner. I just bought this earlier this week so that I could test it out and see a little bit of what this functionality was like. I don't use a planner as a daily driver. I tend to use the onboard pieces of the Supernote along with my Google Calendar and some other functions. But I know a lot of people do use this, and I can really see why after I've played around with it this week. So first, let's go to quarter one. So I've done some pre-fill. I've put in a few things here and there. So this is that quarterly view. You can see all of your different dates broken out by day. And you can see, just for here as an example, I put soccer. So you can press here and go into January. You'll see it takes it a second to load. But now what you have is you have, soccer here in the January calendar, and then you have some notes. Now, the nice thing about the PDF functionality is you can zoom. So when you go to zoom, and then you can either go up here in this corner and drag it around to zoom into a specific area, or you can use two fingers and move it around through here as well. But either way, what you can do is you can zoom those areas in, and then you can also do it by using the plus and minus up here as well. But now you can make a bigger canvas to be able to write on. So I could add information here. And then now when I take it back down, you'll notice that the text shrinks along with it. So you've got this, and what you might want to do if you have some eyesight issues like I do occasionally, is write that in a darker marker or a darker pen or a little bit more of a weight to it, and that way you can see it a little bit better. Again, you get this down to where it completely goes back to normal, and then that's what you have. So you can see what I added there. The nice thing about the PDF as well is, let's say that I changed my mind and I want that to go away. You do have your erase functionality. So your double tap, and it'll erase. So it's very functional. You also, if you write smaller, like some people do, you could actually just go, here is a note. And you could try to write on the lines. But again, it gives you that flexibility to be able to do that. And you can also go up here and write on different things in the calendar. Now, one thing you can do as well is you can turn on the lasso tool and say you want to take this and you want to identify a keyword, or you want to copy this and move it somewhere else. You can do that. So if you hit identify keyword, it'll take it just a minute, and then here comes your keyword list. You can see here's a note. It recognized my handwriting perfectly. So now you can add this or not. We won't, just because we don't want to clutter my keywords, but you have that functionality. This is a really good tool to be able to use for notes and the daily or the monthly view here. At the same time, one thing that you can do in the PDF is you can also go to the ellipse here, the extra dots, and you can set the contrast. So let's say that you're having trouble reading it. You can max out that contrast, and then now everything is a little bit darker, a little bit easier to see the lines. And then you would just tap back in and you can see all of this is really well defined now. Now the super node is automatically going to go to the light end. It automatically turns the contrast down. So you're going to have to make sure that you're taking that into account. Now from here, what's really neat is you can click on the week. And when you go to the week, you now have your weekly view. And again, I put soccer over here at from 5 to 8. You have notes and you have tasks. So you can say, here are my notes. And you can go in and you can actually look at some different notes and add notes in. And then one nice thing about this, if you only want to go one page back, the little browser function here at the bottom almost, you can hit back and it will take you one page back. Now you can go through the navigation up here as well, which is perfectly fine, but it is a nice feature to be able to, instead of having to hunt for it, just hit that one back if you know that's what you're going to be doing. You can also hit weekly notes, and now you've got the weekly notes, so you can take a note here as well. You have my lists, which can take you, and again, each one of these is a separate list. Now this is the global list. So this is if you want to create multiple lists for multiple things. So here you would just write groceries. And then you could write milk, eggs. And then you can just tick those off as you go. And there you go. So that's a list. And again, you can go back to 2024, see your full week. You can then jump into January again. You see your weekly view, your daily view. You can jump into the day. So we jumped into the week a minute ago. Now we can jump into the day, and you can see here, you can drill down further. So you have soccer. This is the actual time it's supposed to be. Here's kind of some other task list items. And then there's a daily notes and a daily diary. So for example, this is just another way that the planner can help you stay organized. And it's really useful for someone who's trying to keep a very day by day, step by step way of looking at things. So we're not going to go through every bit of MDO. I'll put the links into the guide. But what I wanted to show you was kind of how this works. We'll take a look at the Get It Done Planner by Morning Coach. Here is what the Morning Coach Planner looks like, the Get It Done Planner. So again, this is a free download. Voya's does come at a cost through My Deep Guide, but that does help support his channel. And again, this is, they go with, Morning Coach goes with the Sacred Six to-do list. He explains that far better than I would, so I'm not going to go through and explain what each of these pieces are. But this is a very in-depth hyperlinked planner. So again, here's the items. Here's your breakdown of your different pieces. You can go here and say what you're reading. You can make some notes. Again, being able to zoom in helps a lot. You'll see he has different things like positive moments, different ways of organizing information. Again, it's more about what works in your flow than it is with anything else, and what your goals are and how you want to manage your information. So at any point, you can go and you can hit the home button, and this will take you back to the main planner. So just as you had in MDO, you have different notes pieces. So you can press any of these and it'll take you to a notes page. You can make a quick note and then you can go back home. You can go to any month you want from the home screen. So you can click on January here. And now let's say that you want to look at January 1st. So now we're back to where we began. And then with Morning Coach, again, depending on how much you get into their system, and I will show you this really quick because I showed you a little bit deeper into MDO. But so there is a systems index. And again, these are very customized to the process. When are the weekend reviews? What's the 2023 review? So at the beginning of this planner, they actually say, what are the things you did in 2023? Where does that leave you? Where are you starting 2024? And it just gives you a nice walkthrough of different items and components. They have their system progress. Again, you walk through each of these and they give you a different component and show you kind of where you are. And again, on this one, sometimes, that's where the contrast can really be helpful. So if you hit contrast, and then we want to take that all the way up. And if you're familiar with the rose, bud, thorn technique, what are the things that you're really excited about? What are the things that are, that are upcoming, that are just starting to bloom? And the thorns, the things that are bothering you, stressing you out, whatever the issue may be. Again, these are just different ways that Morning Coach uses to help motivate you and help you organize your time. But it's really an interesting way to do that. And the last thing I'll just highlight really quickly on this one is something that I find interesting. If I was going to be using this planner, I think I would use quite a bit, is the decision making tool. So, for example, here, we'll zoom in here so you can kind of see this. What are the pros? What are the cons? And then asking yourself some guided questions as to whether or not this is the right thing for you to be doing. What is this decision? Is it going to be something that I find really useful? Does it give you energy? Are you just doing it for the money? Does it help society? Is it part of a bigger picture? Again, this is Morning Coach's system, but at the same time, some of these questions are really useful regardless of whether or not you're participating in the whole philosophy. But I did want to show you some of these tools, and I think that's important. So we have talked about functionality as far as being able to write on these, make notes on these, whether or not they're easy to navigate, being able to zoom and pan. And we'll do a wrap up and a conclusion as far as what the pros and cons are. But I just wanted to show you kind of what they look like in this particular instance. You can also bookmark pages, but you don't really need to do that as much in this type of a PDF because of the fact that everything is hyperlinked. So as you're going through it, whether or not it's going to work for you. and it gives you kind of a state of being and a way to think through the different components. One thing that I want to show you, and I should have shown you on my daily organizer as well, but this is a fairly new update, and we talked about it a little bit, that there was a new update with the upcoming A6X2. But one nice thing is that you can flip this over to landscape mode. You're going to get a bigger piece of real estate to be able to write on. And so you can actually turn this and you can say, okay, this is more readable to me. This is easier for me to click through and write on, and be able to go ahead and just move the page. And you'll see that the way this works is you kind of see reading twice because it gets what it calls the half page. It doesn't quite do the same thing that you would expect to see um, on a true landscape page that allows you to do that scrolling feature. Now, on the A6X2, it does allow you to do that. So, one thing I want to point out that I kind of forgot to say about being in landscape mode is that the device, when it's in this mode, actually reorients itself as if it was still in portrait mode. Your task list or your toolbar moves to where it should be. The only thing that's going to be different is the refresh bar is going to be here at the top. But at the same time, the functionality, the swiping functionality moves to where it should be. So, for example, here, now let's say you've done this, you've written this in, and you want to go back to portrait mode because that's easier for you to see everything. So now when you do that and you turn this back around, voila, it moves, it puts it in the right spot. It doesn't, it realigns it, it resizes it so that you don't have to worry about having written larger. I've seen on some devices where it kind of forgets that and it leaves the text in the wrong direction and kind of spread. It doesn't move with the planner. That's more an issue with the device than it is with the planner itself, obviously, and the overriding layer. But at the same time, it's something to think about, especially if this is going to be your daily driver and you're going to need to know how things are working and make it work for you. Okay, so let's do a quick pro con list. So pros and cons. So for the PDF planners, there are a lot of pros. So if you're someone who is used to a paper planner, you really like having that, go to it, find out what it is, see where it is, ease of use. These are made specifically for that purpose in mind. There are built-in templates for the Supernote and pretty much every device that have a task list, have a daily calendar, have a even a weekly calendar, but they don't integrate all the same way and you're having to create multiple things. So if you want ease of use, that's going to be a pretty big pro. Especially the two I showed you that have really good links and functionality and are pretty intuitive once you get used to kind of the general layout. The other thing is the ability to increase contrast. So increasing contrast is really important for those times when grayscale may blend or blur a little bit and make it harder. Um, Also, the ability to zoom is extremely important to be able to make that real estate bigger so that you can write, especially if you write fairly large, as you can see I do here. That can be an interesting and an important piece of this, especially since it scales back down. Landscape rotation is also very important. So one, two, three, four is very important. Again, it makes it so that you can increase your real estate, write your things in, turn it back, and now it's back in the format that's kind of easier to see it all in one glance. Another really important piece of these particular items is that all of your notes are in one place. So all of information in one place is in one place. That makes it very easy. You go to your planner, everything's there. You go to the day you want. You can see all of the things that you need to do, that you have done, and that may still be outstanding. So it's very important as you're going through your day to try and really understand what the right thing here is. Another one that's really important is the idea of keywords. One other thing that I didn't talk about, which was annotation and commenting, so highlighting and commenting. Main reason I didn't talk about that is because that is a functionality in PDFs that's really, really useful. But in this context, it's not so much because the only thing that you can highlight and annotate is going to be information that is included in the PDF, so actually native to it. So the typed text, you could select that and create an annotation, or you could create a highlight and a comment and embed that into the PDF. The problem there is that there's no real reason to do that. You can't create an annotation for anything you enter. You can't create a highlight for anything you've entered. All you can do is write on the PDF. And then when it comes time, you can export that PDF and all of your handwriting will be there. But at the same time, it won't become searchable text. So if that makes sense, it's not something. It's a wonderful PDF function, but it doesn't really translate to planners. And if there's anybody out there who's figured out a way to make that work, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear, how that might work. So now let's talk about some of the cons when it comes to the PDF planners. And there's not a lot, but there are some limitations. So one thing you can't do is you can't create a link. So you can't create a hyperlink to anything else. So when we get to talking about the notes and how notes work in the super notes, you can create hyperlinks both to notes, other documents, and even to the web. You can't do that within the PDF planner. It's just not a function that it allows. Another thing you can't do is that you can't make use of the headings. So you can't do headings in Supernote. The headings feature is very nice. You can lasso and then you can turn something into a heading, and then it creates kind of a table of contents that you can go about using. Now, again, that's not a huge deal when it comes to this particular functionality because these are hyperlinked. So unless you're looking for a specific term or a specific item, it's not something you're going to make use of. For that, you can use this keyword functionality, and that'll work very well. And you'll be able to do that. You also don't have stars, so no star marks. And star marks can be really useful because of the idea that in the notes, you can make a star and it'll take you to that page. Again, it's searchable. Again, another workaround for that is the keyword functionality, but it's just an easier way to be able to do that in some cases without having to go to the search terms and look for it that way. No handwriting recognition. So in the notebooks, you have handwriting recognition, which can be really important and a way for you to get your data out. Another thing about these files is, I mentioned that all of your stuff is in one place. So all of your notes, all of your data is in one place. That's a pro, but it could also be a con. If something were to happen to this file, whether it got corrupted, whether something, a PDF of this size, uh, if something went wrong, then you've lost that data. So it's important if you are going to use one of these to back it up as often as you can. Now, the Supernote now does an auto sync to the Supernote cloud, but even then, just being aware that having everything in one spot could cause an issue. But it's still in the Pro column. But one thing that is a limitation is size. These are extremely large files, so that can give you lag. If you are trying to navigate through this, sometimes it can take a while for it to load. Now, we're not talking about a ton of time, but it can be frustrating depending on what you're trying to do. So, what I would suggest is just getting used to that workflow and trying to figure out the best way to use that. The final con that I'll talk about is just the idea that you can't create any new pages. So, you can't add pages. Now, this may not be a big deal. Both of these planners in particular, and a lot of the ones that you can get through Etsy and different places, they offer a ton of pages for notes. If you remember back to us going through the Get It Done and the MDO planners, there were a lot of places to add notes and to take notes and to do a diary, all of these different components. Each of these are over 900, and in some cases, well over 1,000 pages long. But that's part of that size issue as well. But you can't add pages. So if you run out of note pages, like let's say you're in a meeting and you're just taking notes and you're going and going and going, and all of a sudden you're at the end. Well, what you would have to do now is you would have to just create a separate note somewhere and continue taking notes. You couldn't then link that, and that's where this linking issue can really cause a problem, because you can't link out now. So you're going to have to figure out what your workflow is for that. Again, I don't think it'll happen often or all the time, but it is something to be aware of as a limitation. All right, so there you have it. A nice pro con list on these different planners. I think what you really hopefully got out of this is that there are a lot of advantages to using a pre-built, carefully designed planner. There are so many options out there, whether it's My Deep Guide, whether it's Morning Coach, whether it's something you get off of Etsy, whether it's something you create yourself if you're inclined. There's a lot of work that goes into these. But the idea is that this type of a framework gives you a way to engage in a digital environment and help you to organize your time and your resources. If you like this video, please stay tuned and watch the next video where we're going to take these same two planners and we're going to turn them into a template on the Supernote. Now, this does change the dynamics a little bit as far as how how they work, and hopefully that'll give you a little bit more insight. But until then, please again like and subscribe to the channel. I'd love to continue the conversation. Drop some comments below, because I think the more we talk about what your needs are, the easier it is for me to create content that will help you get through the next step and figure out what the best ways to proceed are. So until then, have a great one and thank you.